Yo, what's up? Welcome to Kind of Funny Games Daily for Friday, August 13th, 2021. I'm one of your hosts, Blessing Adeoye Jr. Joining me is host of PS I Love You XOXO, Greg Miller.
Blessing, do you want to know the greatest lie ever told in Kind of Funny history?
Sure, give it to me.
It was that when you are the lead host, you wear a cool polo. And here you are, lead hosting with me, and I don't get a polo. I get
It's a collared shirt. It's a collared shirt. Here's the thing about polos, and I've amended my rule now to collared shirts when I'm hosting.
Well, everybody here. This is the Kind of Funny Games Daily Council coming to order to tell you there's been a rule amendment.
There's been a rule amendment, and here's the thing: polos. The whole concept around the polo revolution is that I'm trying to bring polos back because polos went out of style a while ago.
Well, they got co-opted by the pop collar crew. Like, you don't want that.
And I don't want to associate myself with that. But the thing is, I've owned a lot of polo over the years, right? Like polos were my thing back in high school. I used to rock polos all the time because I was a Kanye West fan. Kanye West always wore the pink polos in the backpack. He had a very preppy style to him. And I always try to emulate that. The thing is, when I have a closet, you say Kanye West sucks?
Yeah, that's the thing is, right? That's where you're going to change because he was mean to Taylor Swift that one time. And you, like every other rational person, were like, we're not going to support this person anymore because clearly he's an asshole.
God, yes. The worst thing Kanye West has done is
now, did I say it was the worst? No, I said it was the tip of the iceberg. That's when we all knew there was a problem. And you all doubled down. And where do we end up? He's ranting on SNL about MAGA. There you go. Congratulations. Y'all built that. You had the chance to nip it in the bud like I did.
Listen, the whole ordeal around me and polos is that, I've been trying to bring back the polos, but I have a closet full of polo shirts that I've owned from just over the years. But the thing is, a lot of those shirts I haven't worn in a very long time, which means that a lot of the shirts, I got to iron them before I actually put them on. Yes. And do I have a lot of time to iron my clothes before the show? Some days, yes. Some days, no. Today is one of those days where the answer is no. And so I'm still rocking the polo or the collared shirt, the button up. I'm semi-formal, semi-casual. Half and half. That's the energy I'm bringing.
This looks like the kind of outfit you go out on, like in high school, you go out on a date in with it buttoned up, but then, the date ends early, so you just go hang out with your friends and you just unbutton it. You know what I mean? Exactly. That's where I feel like we're at right now.
That's the KFGD energy, because I don't, again, you used to do the shirt and tie, and the tie, very formal, and I feel like for what this show has become in the quarantine age, that'd be pushing it. I can't button this up all the way.
January 2022. Variants notwithstanding, right? We are going back to the studio, you assume, right? And do I go back to shirts and ties there? Because I threw that away when COVID started. I was like, well, this is going to be a 2-week vacation from shirts and ties. And here we are a year and a half later. You know what I mean?
We were so dumb.
It's like when we get on that new set, you know what I mean? No spoilers for what the set's going to look like and how crazy it's going to be and how amazing it's going to be. I feel like that'll make me go, oh, you know what? I need to wear the shirt and tie again.
Yeah, everything's going to change.
Yeah.
I also do like the idea of it being casual Friday. I feel like we need a break from the button-ups every now and then. And so I'm gonna amend it to me being a little bit more casual for the Friday. From Monday to Thursday, you might see me more buttoned up. You might see the polo, but on Friday, I'm going to open button up. I gotta rock the Rockstar shirt.
I'll only agree with casual Fridays if every other Friday we have a formal Friday, black tie.
Every other. What about once a month? There's formal Friday.
I like once a month.
Kevin, don't sigh. This is the council. This is KFGD council here, deciding and talking things through.
Kevin, you were the same person who was lobbying for a nap room in the new studio. What? Do you really want every other Friday to be a formal Friday?
First of all, I feel very good in 3-piece suits. You know what I mean? Very good.
You look really good in them too.
Thank you. And nap rooms are essential. All right. I hate
Are you going to use that nap room when you're wearing a 3-piece suit, though?
Like 100%. I'm going to use
formal Fridays. That nap room isn't getting used.
And here's the best thing: I'm going to get in there. I'm going to take off my vest and I'm going to hang it up. And you know what I mean? There it is. I did the same motion. I did the same exact motion for when I go to nap in my.
We're big vest wearers. We know.
Oh, we're all about it. We're all about it.
Is it too late for the nap room? Is that a thing we can still make happen?
There's a couple conference rooms in there that aren't going to be used. There's a quiet room and an editing bay and all this shit. Like, don't worry about it.
Can we put a bed in one of those? Because there have been a lot of conversations.
You want like a full-blown hammock?
I want a place to lay down.
I once went to Google and they had the nap pod. They had that napping pod thing.
I'm going to Google nap pods. I'm going to Google nap pods.
Yes, Kevin, I need to Google nap pods.
Yeah, this is the show.
This is a show. Yeah, we're in it. We're 9 minutes in. We're still here because I have more to say about this nap room because we've had conversations and arguments about this because I believe somebody pitched like a kind of funny daycare. Now that we're gonna have a kid, at least one kid on the way. Somebody pitched a pet room because everybody has pets I'm very much
you could
an
put the
advocate.
daycare. I think you could easily put the daycare and the pets together.
Yeah.
Oh
Lulu
yeah,
can
easy.
watch my
The little
baby, and
ones
there you
take-
go.
there
And then
it
we're
is, there
back.
it
You
is.
know.
Kevin, how much would this be if you got this for the studio?
I have no idea. I kind of like Facebook's better, if I'm being honest.
Which one's
Facebook looks
Facebook's?
like you're about to launch into space.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that looks way better.
seems- You see that? Like, that seems very comfortable.
Does that thing slide over like?
I believe so.
Because you know what the problem's going to be is that nap pod. I'm going to be like, it's time. I need a nap, and I'll walk over there. I'll knock on it. I'm like, is this pod almost unused?
But-
and it's going to go, and all this smoke's going to pour out, and Cool Greg's going to come out and be like, yeah, I'm okay. And he's going to walk away. I'm like, I can't go in here. I can't go in here.
Well, no, you get two
Oh,
of them. You
God.
stack them, right?
Stack the pods. Are we making a capsule hotel?
Like a pod, like a bunk pod bunk bed. Can you go back to the Google one real quick?
Kind of funny. It's the Kind of Funny Live presents the Kind of Funny Studio launch party, and now there's an ultra VIP package where you get to stay in one of the nap pods.
You can't tell me this isn't way better though. Look at this.
No,
This
how
looks
is this
futuristic.
way better. I like that it goes.
It looks like you're a sperm.
It takes less
yeah,
space.
you're 100% right.
Yeah, it's nostalgic.
It reclines fully. I mean, this is just a dentist chair that they've been like, it's not a dentist chair, right?
I'll sleep anywhere. I don't care.
Dentist
Yeah.
chairs don't have like the enclosed pod though.
No,
Because like
sure,
the
they
thing
added
about
a top thing. They
the
made
thing
it a
about the
convertible.
Facebook one is that the Facebook one is doing too much. Like that is you're literally laying in a tube, whereas the Google one they do only what's necessary. Like you don't need your legs in there. You can just like you can have your legs plopped out of the actual pod and it still be a same experience. And I bet we can get 2 Google pods in there in terms of space, where we would only be able to fit in like 1 Facebook pod. Because the Facebook pod just looks bigger from a size perspective. Am I wrong? Am I incorrect?
I don't think you're wrong. The Facebook does look bigger, and then this one, the sperm one, makes it look like you're gonna not be as claustrophobic because your legs are out. You have that freedom of movement.
Yeah.
But the problem is, of course, you are forgetting that Nick will fuck with you. Nick is gonna come over and go, "I'm blessing."
He's for sure going to touch your toes. He's going to touch
He's
your
for sure
toes.
gonna touch my toes. That is true.
nap.
That's a really good point.
Maybe
that I
he'll
did not
suck your
consider.
toes, and he'll start like getting close to get away. And he's like, "I'm not gonna really do it, but what if I did?" Like, this is a weird sketch we're in.
Now, Kevin, what are you showing us right now? Because this looks really pleasant.
An $11,000 sleep pod. A tranquility pod, I'm sorry.
How much was that fridge gonna cost us? The freezer with like the ice, the good ice.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Because I would say that this is
No,
way
no,
more
I don't
better.
Wow.
know.
You just
Stop.
made
You
an
don't know
enemy
what
out
you're
of
talking about. Yeah, oh, the fuck? That's not the right channel.
Oh,
Hold on.
he hung up on you. You're gone, Bless. That's it. See you later. You had your shot. What, everybody? Welcome to the One Man Kind of Funny Games Daily. We always knew it might happen, and it's happening right now. Kevin, what happened?
Yeah, Kevin was in my.
There it is,
Oh, there
you
we
go
go.
to the net pod.
Kevin, as you crunch the prices, because I do want to know the difference in price between the freezer with the good ice
Substantial.
and
It's
the
substantial.
pod,
It's substantial, okay? It's way cheaper to get the ice machine.
the sleep pod. The ice machine is cheaper
way
than that.
cheap, way cheaper than
Oh,
$11,000.
Ice
Oh my
machine's just a
God.
fancy
We can
fridge,
get-
right?
We can get like 4 ice machines for that price.
But what does the $11,000 get us? What are the benefits of the sleep pod? What are we not? What are we missing here?
It's a bed with a plastic canopy on top of it.
There's got to be more than that. There's probably like a massage setting.
That's definitely not. I would
Probably
bet,
like a freezer. There's probably a fridge in there. Honestly, we're being honest. Kevin,
I
while
really-
you look
I
up,
feel like pod time is the way to go.
while you look up the benefits of this $11,000 pod, let's talk about today's stories, which include a Marvel's Avengers War for Wakanda preview roundup, Xbox Game Pass not coming to Switch anytime soon, and more, because this is Kind of Funny Games Daily. Each and every weekday at 10 a.m. live right here on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames. We run you through the nerdy news you need to know about. If you're watching live, you can correct us when we get stuff wrong by going to kindoffunny.com/you're wrong. If you don't want to watch live, you can watch later on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, roosterteeth.com, or you can listen later on podcast services around the globe by searching for Kind of Funny Games Daily. Kevin, what are you laughing at?
I found the solution. We just each employee on their first day, they just get one of these.
Nailed it.
Oh my
You
god.
fall asleep. You fall asleep wherever you want. Wherever you want, it becomes your nap zone.
I forget, did we get sponsored by them once, or did we almost get sponsored? Did somebody buy it? I remember this being a thing on the morning show.
I don't think anyone bought this. I think we looked at it once.
Okay, fair enough.
If you think Nick's gonna fuck with you in the pod, Nick is 1,000% gonna fuck with you if you have this thing on. in the office. Are you kidding me?
That will be
No,
solely what his Instagram becomes is
You
photos
guys,
of
Nick's
people
scared,
using
Nick's scared of retaliation.
This looks like somebody who's halfway to transforming into an alien.
Yes.
They're slowly being taken over.
This looks like a character from like Dragon Ball Z that hasn't been colored in yet.
Yeah, this looks like Piccolo. Yeah, but like half Piccolo, half Saiyan, but not as powerful as either. To be a part of the show, to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames or bronze members or above, get to write in. Silver members or above, get the show ad-free with the exclusive daily post show. If you're an audio listener, you gotta watch the video version.
We're sorry, it's Friday. You know how a Friday show is.
It's casual Friday. Housekeeping for you. Monday, Kind of Funny is hosting the Marvel's Avengers War for Wakanda Launch Party. Starting at 10 a.m. Pacific time over on twitch.tv/Crystal Dynamics. Greg and Miss Marvel herself, Sandra Saad, will be hosting 2 hours of gameplay, dev insight, and cast interviews. Yes, Black Panther himself, Christopher Judge, will be there, and you should too. That's happening Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific time on twitch.tv/Crystal Dynamics. Greg, how hyped should people be for that?
I mean, you should listen to exactly what we just said is going to happen, and you should be that hyped for that. This is very much, like getting to host this is awesome, but then getting to go to the Avengers Reddit, right? And like people are like, I bet they're going to do X. And I'm like, well, what? No. We said very clearly what's happening at this thing. You know what I mean? Let's get hyped. I can't wait to, I've never talked to Chris Judge on camera before. You know what I mean? Like I've talked to him backstage at DICE. I've had great conversations with him, about Kratos and everything he's done before, but to bring him in here. And then on top of it, I know we're about to talk about the previews. His performance as T'Challa, as Black Panther in this is so good. And I can't wait to talk about it.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about it in a second. And since that's happening again, that's happening at 10 a.m. Pacific time. That means that Kind of Funny Games Daily Live will be happening at 9 a.m. on Monday, and so stay tuned for that. Thank you to our Patreon producer, Blackjack. Today we're brought to you by Freshly, but I'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin with what is and forever will be the Roper Report. It's time for some news. Yeah, 5 stories today.
Baker's dozen.
Starting with our number one, we got a Marvel's Avengers War for Wakanda preview roundup. Usually for review roundups or preview roundups, I try to go for like at least 3 stories. I only got 2 sources here, but they go into depth. And so I'm going to start off.
He's mad at you.
Oh yeah, Paul Tassi is furious. I'm starting off with Simon Carty at IGN. Also, Greg Miller has impressions because you have played Marvel's Avengers War for Wakanda, and so we're gonna have you be the third source. I want to hear all about it. But starting off, I want to start off with Simon Carty at IGN. After spending 90 minutes with Marvel's Avengers' first big expansion, War for Wakanda, I'm left feeling hopeful about Black Panther's imminent introduction. He plays extremely well, seems to be part of an engaging cast and story, and there are even hints at some much-needed variety in Avengers' often repetitive core gameplay loop. Whether it will be enough to turn the whole game's ship around is an unanswerable question, but for now at least, it looks set to add a few more hours of enjoyable content to the game. Let's start with how T'Challa feels to play as. If you're familiar with Avengers, then you'll find he hits somewhere in between Black Widow and Captain America, combining the agile movement of Natasha with the heavy combo-based melee attacks of Steve. His ranged option is a great feeling throwable dagger that's not too dissimilar from Batman's batarangs in the Arkham series. These blades lower an enemy's defense as well as inflicting damage, and so it's always good to get a few of them into an opponent before choosing to move in close. This offers a tactical edge to combat that Avengers button bashing nature has rarely. Hold on, let me read that again. This offers a tactical edge to combat that Avengers button bashing nature has rarely provided with its existing roster. Black Panther is a blast to play with, but just as importantly, he's also a great character to spend time with. This is in no small part to the performance of Christopher Judge, which Greg was just talking about. Yeah. Judge's interactions with both Okoye and Shuri provide a charming and often funny back and forth as we leap around the jungle. I'm also going to pull from Tom Reagan over at Games Radar, who writes this. Set 5 years after Wakanda closes borders to the outside world, we join our hero in this Black Panther DLC, killing some mercs lurking in a nearby jungle. T'Challa's solution? A royally decreed ass-whopping. I believe that should say ass-whooping. Leaping into action.
It does say whopping, though. You're right.
It does say whopping. I love a good ass whopping. Leaping into action, it becomes immediately apparent that War for Wakanda is a more challenging beast. As I sent our acrobatic Wakandan king hurtling into battle, his foes hit back just as hard. Instead of mindless button mash of old, Ulysses' claws vibranium mining mercs immediately surround me, dodging my flurry of attacks and responding with AoE moves that dole out some serious punishment. Black Panther's up-close and personal playstyle feels a world away from Thor's floaty playstyle. The digital dioramas you're duking it out in don't hurt either. Unlike the cramped corridors that littered the base game, the luscious locales of Wakanda's forest feel like pleasingly inviting playgrounds. Leaping across its overgrown ruins and clambering up walls to glimpse glistening waterfalls, this open, vibrant space is a sight for sore eyes. T'Challa's athletic prowess makes him a natural fit for platforming too, with his pacey pounce turning sandbox traversal into a pleasingly flowing bounce. Whether we're sending his royal whiskers clambering up walls or swinging from branches, there's more than a touch of Spider-Man to Square Enix's take on the cat-eared king. Greg Miller, you've played a bit of Marvel's Avengers War for Wakanda expansion.
Correct.
How do you feel about it?
I think both of these previews nail it. I played the same stuff they did. I went over to Crystal Dynamics into a solo room. I was cordoned off from every other human being. It was completely, masked up. Everybody had to prove they were vaccinated, and it was just me and one PR person that were socially distanced. And I got to play the same stuff Simon and Reagan did here. And yeah, I can't wait. And obviously, of course, pointing out at the top of the show, this is funny. We're hosting, or I'm hosting, but Kind of Funny's producing the War for Wakanda launch party on Monday. Of course, I hope you come watch it. But of course, for full disclosure, you can take my preview with a grain of salt. I will say that this one time and then maybe say it, I'm sure, when we talk about the final product. But I want to point out that when we announced the launch party, somebody in the Twitter mentions was like, oh man, I'm not looking forward for the rest of time. You saying, oh man, take my opinion with a grain of salt. I'm like, do I really have to do it this time though? I feel like we talk about before the party and after the party, I'll mention it. And then I talked about Avengers for a year and a half now and told you how much I love this game and can't stop playing this game. I don't think you have to worry about that part. To this preview itself, I echo everything they're saying. I think that Black Panther is a ton of fun to play. Simon calls out his blades feeling like batarangs. Overall, I think that he really feels like Batman. Like when I was playing it and going through it, I was like, oh man, like the way they even frame him in this, right, of when he drops in on the mercs the first time, it is a very Batman, like they hear something up in the trees and they look up and then boom, he takes one of them out and then he comes down and like starts fighting everybody. And that's how he feels. And as a Cap main, I do like the hand-to-hand combat of Cap. It's one of the reasons I like him. I do like his shield. And I know, at a glance, even with the two Hawkeyes, right, so many people have talked about, well, does everybody in Avengers just feel the same? Is it just button matching? I don't think it is. There are a lot of, not intricate, but there are, if you really want to go down the skill trees, combos to it. And like being Black Panther feels different than being Cap. It feels different than being Widow. Like just his form, like, I think after, as I've talked about obviously many times, I grew up a DC kid. So my Marvel really is the MCU. And so knowing Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther has given me that intro to Black Panther. And this Black Panther is a much broader shoulder. Like he feels like a tank almost, right? Like he feels like he's got this muscle behind him. So when you are brawling with it, it has that Batfleck feel to it in terms of like, oh man, this is a big broad-shouldered brawler that's going to get in there. He is a tank that's going to do this. And the way that then functions into gameplay and the combos he's doing is incredible. I think it might have been Paul Tassi's Forbes preview that was talking about, him slashing faces. And once I figured out the combo to do that, it became my favorite move because it literally is he pounces on people, pins them to the ground, and then you are in control of the combos as you slash their face. And so it is this very visceral movement to it. And one of the things that I didn't see in any of the previews, I didn't read the Games Radar one, but I didn't see it in Simon's and I didn't see it in Paul's. Simon's is a very detailed run through of everything. The ultimate that you have from the start, obviously, if you haven't played Avengers, you are leveling up as you go to eventually get the end game. But as you level up, you get points that you can put into your skill trees. The first ultimate you start with, right, is this giant burst that gives you a buff, but also unleashes the big Black Panther Bath, right, out there to go out there and fight for you and do stuff. When you level that all the way up, you eventually get you'll spawn in 2 members of the Dora Milaje that come in and fight for you as well. And so it is this really cool thing of getting to see that happen and them run in there and go out and take it out. Like Black Panther feels different, and that's just the character stuff of it. Like I tweeted this morning, echoing everything Simon said and saying, of course, like I feel like this is going to be another 150 character for me. And I saw a bunch of hardcore Avengers fans pop in, right, and be like, "Oh man, like I've 150'd everybody, yada yada yada. I just expect you the same here." I'm like, I get that. For me, with the amount of games I have to play and go through, I can't commit that time to it, right? I have 3 150s right now. Black Panther will for sure be a 4th because he's that much fun to play. And then the content itself was hitting on the notes I want, right? Where it is like, cool, this story seems interesting. I love the way they're bringing the Avengers into it. I love where they've set it up. You know, the cast for this is incredible, obviously, with Deborah Wilson being in there, Dave Fennoy being in there, Erica Luttrell being in there, and then, of course, Chris Judge himself. Steve Bloom is Claw, but that's a different conversation. The way those 4 actors work together and build a Wakanda is awesome. The way the game introduces all of them, and I don't want to spoil it, and we are going to be showing these 2 missions that Simon, me, Reagan, and Paul got to see on the stream Monday. The way they introduce the Avengers to it, and then getting to explore Wakanda as the Avengers and kind of see it through their eyes, really great stuff. So I'm super stoked for it.
So a couple questions. Thank you. A couple questions.
Letting me rant.
One, how much have you played? Because I saw Simon mention that he's played 90 minutes. Have you also played about an hour and a half?
Yeah, Simon and I both, or to my knowledge, I don't know exactly what Simon, I think he had the same preview I did, which was the first 2 missions, which is what we're streaming on Monday as well, and then a harm room where we got to run through and like see stuff that way.
Gotcha. And for T'Challa, Christopher Judge, you know, way different from Chadwick Boseman. What does he bring to the character? Like, does it feel like a different Black Panther?
It does. And on top of that, like when Christopher Judge got introduced as Kratos, it was that thing for me as like, oh, he was in Stargate, right? Like, oh, I know, I've seen him around. I know he's in the sci-fi world or whatever. Jam
Vendetta.
There you go. Even after all the God of War I played, and that being my favorite game of all time now, right? Even after meeting the man and talking to him at DICE and, you know, doing a few little things there with him, getting into this game, and I don't mean to toot my own horn here, but I'd like to think I have a pretty great ear for voice actors. You'll see a lot of time on reaction streams and we'd be like, Nolan, Dave, whoever, right? This is one of those things like Christopher Judge is lost in this performance, which is, I think, always the highest praise you can give a VO artist or an actor in general, I guess, because you would I could have played this, and if I didn't know and they would have said at the end, who is it? I would be like, I don't know. Like, it does not sound like Kratos. It does not sound like Christopher Judge normal speaking voice. And so it gives this more seasoned Black Panther, right? He's been at this longer than the MCU Black Panther has been. It also gives an interesting take where it is the idea of what Black Panther is in this world, right? Where, you know, the events of A-Day, where, of course, the Avengers, which is the start of the game, right? The Avengers are launching their new helicarrier, right? It gets taken out, Cap dies, Avengers are banned or whatever, right? It's kind of the reverse of what you've seen in the MCU, where 5 years ago, Black Panther was cool. He was out there. Wakanda's borders were open. Everything was cool, right? But after the events of A-Day, they locked everything down. And so it is this thing of, you know, when the Avengers show back up, because spoilers, they do, obviously, like, it's not a, oh, great to see you kind of thing. It is very much like, why are you coming here? Why are you, you know, you've crossed our borders. This isn't chill. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there is this push and pull to it of it. And then I think, you know, even the way Christopher Judge as T'Challa talks to Cap, the way he talks to Deborah Wilson, the way he talks to everybody else in this game, there's the season, he knows what he's doing in it, and he's also in command of what Wakanda is. And I'm really interested to see them talk more about the backstory to it, because the way it's introduced, and again, we'll play all this, but I don't want to spoil it right now if you're trying to stay blank. It's way more puzzly. It is way more like let's slow down, and they are dropping hints of how you became Black Panther, which is not how Black Panther became Black Panther in MCU. So it is that thing of like, I'm wondering if the breadcrumbs they're dropping there are going to actually play back into Claw's story, and then we'll go through that and see what happens.
Yeah, I think I saw while going through both these stories, both of them mention, and I of course, for these preview roundups, I only include little snippets because, of course, if I read the whole thing, we'd be going on forever. And so if you're listening, you're more curious about these previews, definitely recommend going to GamesJar and going to IGN, giving them a click, and actually reading through both Simon and Tom's previews. Both of them acknowledged and talked about Avengers launch and how over the last year, it has been this rough thing of, oh yeah, the content isn't there. Oh yeah, the gameplay isn't all the way there. Oh yeah, these games have a way to go. But both of them also acknowledge that it seems like Black Panther might be the start of them kind of rectifying that. Do you feel that as well? Do you feel like Black Panther might be, or War for Wakanda might be the place where people start warming up to Marvel's Avengers? Or do you feel like they still got a long way to go in terms of the things the game still needs?
The problem with answering that question always is, I think it comes to asking whoever's asking it, what is wrong with Avengers to you? Like, what don't you like about Avengers, right? Because it's that thing of like, for the people who are like, oh man, the combat's just button mashing, yada yada. Well, no, this doesn't change that. I would argue it's not. They're like I saying, like there's different combos to do and this, that, and the other, let alone now for, you know, the Omega threat level stuff where it is actually you need a build, you need a thing, you need to communicate with your team. I know that's like few and far between for high level content. That doesn't get fixed. If it's a content thing, I think it has a shot at it because I doubt that people came back for Clint and Kate and the Omega threat level and Monica's villain sector. So the hope here, as you continue to see them do this, and I've seen, you know, when we got to announce that we were doing the launch party thing, there was a couple threads on the subreddit for Play Avengers that were like, oh man, it's so cool to see them treating this like a new game or a relaunch of the game. And through that lens, I think you could see people come back to it. How long they'll stay, I don't know, but I do think there is that idea of, you know, we just saw it with quadruple XP, right, in the free play weekend, where a lot of people came back and were like, oh man, there is stuff to do. This is play. I've never played it before. If you come back and suddenly it is this Black Panther, you know, War for Wakanda expansion, which they're saying is what, 6 to 7 hours of new stories content, let alone then if you haven't played Kate, if you haven't played Clint, if you haven't played all that other stuff, let alone that Black Panther is the launch of the new inventory system, right? Where there are loadouts and they have gone through and to put a bunch of quality of life stuff in there to make it easier to equip, easier to get to your vault, easier to do a bunch of stuff that I know so many people say is such basic stuff, but it's here now. And so jumping into that, I could see that being the thing of, oh man, there is a lot to do. There is stuff going on here. But I think a lot of it comes down to what we've always talked before is the way these games work, right? Is, all right, cool, what's next? And so I think there is a big thing that you celebrate War for Wakanda, you put out the expansion, you bask in that for this week, but then I think you got to get right back to work if you're them and put out I did infamously a great episode of the Blessing Show where, right, I laid out, hey, here's all the things Avengers needs to fix, right? And then what was it? The next day they were like, hey, not everything's fixed, but here's one of the main things, a giant roadmap. That is, we're talking about what's happening the rest of the year. Or at least through the launch of War for Wakanda. And they stuck to those dates. And when I think the one thing they had to move, which was patrols, they were very clear, like, we're moving patrols, but we're moving this up and da-da-da. It's all about communication. And I think Avengers and Crystal has learned that. I think, again, you look at what they're doing here and how they're launching and the fact that they reached out to partner with us to, hey, come host this thing. Like, they're trying to make a big deal about this. And I was, talking on streams about it, right? And to you and behind the scenes, right? Like, the fact that they're using the hashtag Play Black Panther, the hashtag's been Play Avengers since launch and Reassemble at launch. But the fact that they're saying, hey, Play Black Panther, I think lends itself really easily to, next week is, hey, there is a Black Panther video game out. And yeah, it's part of this other game, but you don't have to play any of that stuff. You can jump right into this and you can go right into Black Panther. And the fact that next week's the what if that's around Black Panther and the Ravagers, right? Like, there's a lot going on there that I think could bring in people. But then after they're in, you have to say, I would say the week after. Maybe and even the week after that, 2 weeks later, we need a roadmap and you need to be saying, cool, glad you enjoyed it. Here's what's happening. And of course, here's Spider-Man. Paul Tassi, talks on Forbes again of like, once again, he asked them and once again, they said, hell or high water, Spider-Man's coming in 2021. So there's a lot. I think it's going to get a lot of people back in, but I think it is that if your problem with it was, oh man, like it's a button masher or oh man, I don't care about the loot. I don't know if this fixes it. Like, this does have different loot types they're dropping in there. There is a whole bunch of different stuff happening with it. I know that, like, this is ridiculous. And again, like, I don't even have to say, because everybody who watches Kind of Funny knows this. Marvel's Avengers arguably is like the most fun I've had gaming this year. And a lot of that comes from 2 weeks ago when it was the 4XP weekend and it was us all reuniting. Like, Simon's part of the Avengers group we play with all the time, right? And so it warms my heart when I'm out and at the grocery store and I see you're in the group now too, Bless, right? You see that like Goldfarb started a voice chat and there's a text of like, hey, me and Simon are going to jump on and do some stuff. Like, the fact that we grinded so hard for the Omega threat level mission and we lost, and then we almost lost that second time, but we did it the last second. Like, there's so much good stuff happening there. If that's your kind of game, I get it. If it's not your kind of game, I get it. If you don't want to grind, I get all of that. But for me, it is, that next evolution of Marvel heroes where it's cool. I get to play dress up and go be a superhero and with my friends and quest for this better piece of gear. And now I'm looking for an all exotic cap set and I need to be doing more melee damage. And I totally get why so many people are like, that fucking sucks. But I think that is existing there for people like me. And now there is story stuff that's going to be interesting. I'm interested to see where the story goes with Black Panther.
Well, hell yeah. One more thing for Marvel's Avengers. This morning, as we were going live, actually, at Play Avengers on Twitter tweeted out a new costume for Captain America. Kevin, if you're able to pull this up, I have it highlighted under the news story. They tweeted out the following. He can do this all day. Inspired by the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Captain America's Marvel Studios' the Avengers outfit shows the first Avenger about to form an unbreakable family. Get it in the marketplace on August 17th,
Yeah.
and it is the Captain America MCU outfit, and he's looking fresh.
From the first Marvel's Avengers.
Yeah,
because we've already had Endgame Cap, which is what I run with all the time now. But I'm excited for this because I am, as I already said, a Cap main. We'll see if Black Panther, and that's the other thing too, by the way, real quick too. They've shown a bunch of Black Panther costumes, but there were so many more, and they all look so fucking dope. Like I was looking through the marketplace, I'm like, shit, I'm gonna buy all these. Back to this stuff. As a Cap main, I want them all, and like I'm excited they're gonna keep going. I really thought it was gonna be cool. We did Endgame, and that's where we're gonna stop. The fact that they're doing Avengers makes me think that opens the door for obviously more Avengers, but also I want the Cap, Winter Soldier outfit. I want Cap. I want to get as many Cap MCU skins as I can possibly get.
Yeah, I love this because it reminds me of Spider-Man a few years ago when the Spider-Man 2018 kept adding costume over costume over costume, and it was that thing where I remember when they got to the classic Sam Raimi Spider-Man suit, and that was a big deal. That was like this dope ass thing that people have been asking for. And with Marvel's Avengers, one, if they can keep doing that, that's going to pull in folks like you, and that's going to make folks like me interested because so many folks are in love with the MCU. But it's also that thing of, I remember last year talking about Marvel's Avengers, and we're comparing it to other games as service games. And I believe one of the things that I said in one of our early reviews of Avengers was that, I think this game is just too big to fail, right? Like it's Marvel, it's Avengers, and
they continue to test that theory, though.
They do continue to test that theory. And the further along we get with it, the more I'm like, ooh, maybe it's not too big to fail. But it's that thing where comparing it to something like Anthem, or comparing it to any other games as a service, Marvel's Avengers has the benefit of being Marvel's Avengers. Like people want to like a game like this. People want this game to be good. I so badly want to be obsessed with a Marvel's Avengers games as a service game. And so like it coming out and the content not being there for me multiplayer wise, that was a big blow for me. But it's still that thing where if the game gets there, if this Black Panther expansion is dope, for sure I'm going to hop into this Black Panther expansion. If the Spider-Man expansion is dope, for sure I'm going to hop into the Spider-Man expansion. Sure. I know I'm not alone. And if it's the thing where the Black Panther expansion comes out and it is dope, like I've been talking to folks like Yusuf, who similarly isn't into Marvel's Avengers, and both of us are like, dude, we really like Black Panther. We really want to hop into this. Think about how many people love Spider-Man, and if that thing's a banger, like how many people are going to hop back into it for Spider-Man. And if they can find that momentum and get those people in, but then keep those people because the content eventually does get there, that's gonna be big. That's gonna be big for Marvel's Avengers.
That's another thing about War for Wakanda, and what's gonna be so fascinating about it is that for the first time they're gonna launch a new hero, and guess what? We can all be the new hero. And I know that sounds goofy, but remember when they launched Kate and Clint, like, great, there's a new character for you to play. Awesome. I want to play with my friends. Oh, well, only one of you can be the new character, right? They did away with that. They introduced the whole tachyon rifts and they're doing it so you can all play. So it is that thing of I can be playing through the story of it, and then you guys sign on, and I'm like, oh man, I'd love to come play with you, and we can all three of us be Black Panther, and we can all be leveling up our Black Panther, and then going into the loadouts, and like this is way high level stuff, but you can change it anytime, like right of like, all right, we're having trouble with this mini boss, I'm gonna spec out to be more healing than I am damage or whatever, and that way I can actually help you, because there's a few different moves on the chain I was looking at of like, oh, if you put it here, when you do your area of effect, you get to boost everybody's health and stuff like that. And I think again, like that's gonna be the test. I know I was texting you all 4 XP weekend back a couple of weeks ago, right? Of like, hey, we're playing if you want to play. And hey, and you're like, oh, you always had something else. And it was like, it's not even worth pressing on, because I'd rather it be that Black Panther drops, you find a character you really love, and then you're like, all right, what do I do with it? And me and Goldfarb grab you by the hand, and you're like, all right, let's go. Let alone the fact that, if I'm leveling Black Panther, or even if I wanted to level somebody else with you, like, I have characters that are lower level to go in and do it. It doesn't have to be my Cap coming in and just crushing everybody's skull with this shield over and over again.
Yeah. Greg, that was just story number 1. We still got 4 more news story to go.
It's Friday, baby. Anything can happen.
It's casual Friday. We're going to have fun for the rest of this episode. But for now, remember that you can go to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames where you can get the show ad free. And speaking of ads, let us tell you about our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by Freshly. Dinner time can be chaotic, but with Freshly, it's easy. The chefs take care of your meals a few nights a week and take the pressure off of you. Cool Greg knows all about this. He's been getting Freshly, he's been loving it, doesn't need to cook anything. He just gets it served here, he opens it, and he's eating fantastic stuff. He was telling me all about this sausage baked penne, and I was like, man, that sounds good. It sounds damn good. Freshly offers quality meals without the hard work of prepping, cooking, and cleaning. Freshly offers chef-made, nutrient-packed, delicious meals delivered fresh to your door, no cooking required. Ordering is easy. You just go to freshly.com and choose from over 30 delicious, satisfying, better-for-you meals like steak peppercorn, the sausage baked penne I was talking about, or the chicken pesto bowl. Right now, Freshly is offering you guys $40 off your first 2 orders when you go to freshly.com/games. Stop stressing about dinner. Go to freshly.com/games for $40 off your first 2 orders. That's freshly.com/games for $40 off your first 2 orders.
Story number 2, Xbox has ruled out Game Pass on other consoles in the near future. This is from Ivan Video Games Chronicle. Xbox boss Phil Spencer has ruled out the possibility of launching Xbox Game Pass on other console platforms in the near future. In a Games Radar interview, Spencer was specifically asked whether Microsoft is planning to bring Xbox Game Pass to Nintendo Switch. Quote, "We have no plans to bring it to any other kind of closed platforms right now, mainly because those platforms don't want something like Game Pass," he responded. Quote, "There's a ton of open platforms out there for us to grow in, the web, PC, and mobile. So all of our focus, frankly, is on those platforms," end quote. However, Spencer wouldn't rule out the possibility of bringing Xbox Game Pass to non-Microsoft consoles in the long term, where other platform holders open to offering the full experience on their hardware. Spencer added, quote, "In the end, when we say we want everybody to be able to play Xbox, we really mean if we can bring that full experience to a device that players want. We are totally open to those discussions," end quote. Greg, is it surprising to you that in the near future we're not going to see Game Pass on Nintendo Switch?
No, it felt like we lost momentum on that, right? Where I think we originally, when Switch launched, right, and it was that whole thing of like, oh man, like Xbox is moving this way with Game Pass and that's happening here, like this would be a really cool thing. But as Switch has continued to just fucking dominate and be so successful and have, you know, so many games in the NPD, like what's the motivation? Like Nintendo's not hurting for content, right? And I don't think they're worried about, since they're not competing, they don't really worry about what Xbox or PlayStation is doing. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me, but it is like, oh man, that would have been cool. But that's a future that a lot of people just don't need, especially now as, you know, Game Pass is on your phone. It's everywhere else, you know, or cloud gaming is.
Yeah. And I think for me, it's all in that last statement that Spencer added, right? In the end, when we say we want everybody to play Xbox, we really mean if we can bring that full experience to a device that players want. And for Nintendo, I don't think they would want the full Xbox experience available on the Switch, because it's that thing where that for them would be unnecessary competition. That would be way too disruptive for what the Nintendo Switch is. You know, people are buying the Nintendo Switch in great amounts because people want to play Nintendo games. People are down to play the indie games that are available. People are down to play the library that's available there. Adding in Xbox Game Pass as a thing, whether it is through xCloud or they find ways to natively play Xbox games on Switch, that'll probably be way more of a big challenge. But no matter what the form is, it would probably be the thing of there are either caveats to it because Switch is just completely different hardware than the Xbox One or Xbox Series X, or it's the thing of, well, are we providing too much competition on our own platform as Nintendo to have Xbox Game Pass competing with Zelda Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey and Mario Kart and Animal Crossing? Like, we have something nice going on here, right? We have something nice that we're doing here. We don't want to mess that up by adding in this big wave of games that are going to be available for people who only subscribe to a subscription service.
Sure. And I think there's also the fact of, you know, you can't look past the fact that Nintendo has been experimenting with their own cloud stuff, right? Where you're seeing games like Control come to Nintendo Switch, but you're just playing it through the cloud. And so the fact that they're even looking into that makes it into a stickier situation of, cool, that option's there if we ever need it. And if a third party really wants it, or if we want to really push for it. So why, partner with Xbox and use their thing when we could be getting money that way.
That is the one thing I'd maybe like to see, because I think Game Pass is either a far-flung future or just out of the question in terms of it being fully implemented on the Switch. But I do think you could make the argument that you could get Xbox first party or Xbox quote-unquote exclusive games on the Switch via xCloud in a way that you don't necessarily have to put it on Game Pass. You can just release it on the Switch. In the same way that for I'm trying to think of it, like a Minecraft or Psychonauts 2, but being a better example. Psychonauts 2, it's coming out on PlayStation, right? And that's going to be a paid game on PlayStation, whereas on Xbox you can just get that on Game Pass. Nintendo Switch very much open to the idea of cloud games, and I'm sure if they got those discussions going, could make sense to put something like a Hellblade 2 or maybe a Halo Infinite campaign or something along those lines on the Switch via xCloud and have that go. But, you know, I think that would have to be in a way that is not super disruptive. I think that would have to be outside of Game Pass, because I think Game Pass is that line for Nintendo where they are like, okay, no, we are allowing our competitors in way too much to be able to come in here and offer these games in this way that is going to take people away from the core Nintendo content.
Yeah, I think if you saw Switch languishing, if it wasn't, you know, so successful, there'd be more of a conversation on Nintendo of how do you pivot and do that, but they don't need to. Everybody wants to Switch.
Exactly. Greg, let's continue the business talk with story number 3. We got MPD for July. This is from Sherif Saed at VG247. July may have been quiet for new releases, but it wasn't very quiet for the video game spending front. The NPD has published its report for the US market across retail and some digital channels, covering the games businesses for the month of July. Consumer spending on hardware, software, and accessories amounted to $4.6 billion over the course of July. Billion, a 10% increase over last year. Hardware, in particular, saw the most growth, with a whopping 98% dollar sales jump compared to July last year, up to $323 million. NPD said this is the highest since July 2008 and the third highest July overall. PlayStation 5 was the best-selling console in dollar sales during July, and Nintendo Switch was the highest in unit sales. The Switch remains the year's best-selling in both unit and dollar sales. On the software side, The Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword came in at number 1 in dollar sales, making it the first Nintendo-published game to lead the month since Super Mario 3D World in February. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War took the second spot in July, and its lead over 2021 remains unshaken. Black Ops Cold War also topped the individual charts for both PlayStation and Xbox in July. The number 3 spot went to Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Ruin.
Someone help Coco!
In July alone, sales were over 3 times as many as Monster Hunter Stories' lifetime sales. Top 10 games across all platforms for July go like this. At number 10, we got Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Number 9, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Number 8, Spider-Man Miles Morales. Number 7, MLB The Show 21. Number 6, Mario Golf Super Rush. 5, Minecraft. 4, Mario Kart 8. 3, Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Ruin. At number 2, we got Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. And at number 1, for the top 10 games of July, The Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword. Greg Miller, do you have any big takeaways from this?
Man, people are, I mean, no, like, it's like, it's just like, it's the normal thing. When were we so fucking wrong and Jeff Grubb rubbed it in our fucking face about some Mario? Paper Mario, was that it? Whatever. And so it's like,
was it Paper Mario versus Ghost of Tsushima? Was it that conversation?
I don't even know. I think it wasn't even about Ghost. I think it was more like, I was like, is Paper Mario really going to track well? And Jeff Grubb was like, you are a fucking moron. Yes, it is. Of course, it's a brand new Mario game, right? It's the same thing with Skyward Sword, where I look at this and I'm like, oh man. Yeah, like, I guess that makes complete sense. It's a brand new, you know, Nintendo exclusive, in brand new in quotes, whatever. But it's like, oh, okay. So takeaways, no, not really, right? It's the normal ones. I feel like, I mean, like, holy shit, look at Miles Morales holding on. You know what I mean? Mario Golf still doing well. DLC coming for that. That's great, right? Like, yeah, it's one of those months where I don't think there was like a race to number 1. There wasn't like, you know, who's gonna actually get it, what's gonna happen. It's just, you know, the way
Mario Kart 8. Mario Kart 8 was one for me where I was like, holy shit, Mario Kart 8 is still selling like this in 2021.
Why
in
you're
a
never
random
Mario
July.
Kart 9?
Yeah, and like, yeah, that you're not going to get Mario Kart 9 anytime soon based on that. And yeah, back to the Skyward Sword thing, right? Like, when you think about it, that is the biggest release of the month for the one of the most popular video game platforms right now. Of course. And so it makes sense from that perspective. But yeah, for Skyward Sword, which is critically a bit of a controversial game, you know, some people would say, a few people would say it's a masterpiece, some people would say it's fine, some people would say it's great.
Rich George would say it's a masterpiece, and he'd be wrong.
Yeah, whoever was reviewing it
out of the industry
back in the day would say it's a masterpiece.
I mean, also it's worth giving a shout out to Monster Hunter Stories 2, right? A game that I think, you know, turn-based JRPG or whatever in the Monster Hunter world. Granted, you're talking about, you know, a world that is post Monster Hunter world, so there's more fans than ever. And like, even for me jumping in to play it on that Twitch stream, I was like, man, I really enjoyed this. If it wasn't such a busy time with other things to play right now for review, I'd probably put more time into that.
Yeah, and also, we casually have the conversations about the quote unquote Nintendo tax on games, right? Like Nintendo first party games not getting discounted, like dynamically after release, pretty much at any point, right? Like Nintendo games stay at $60 a lot of the time. If they do get discounted, they're getting discounted to like $50. And Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword coming out, for me, it was the thing of, oh yeah, this looks good, but I might wait for a sale actually, because I don't know if I want to pay $60 to play Skyward Sword. But it's that thing where seeing this game come out on top in July makes me, it's a good reminder of, oh, it might be a while before I'm able to pick that game up on a sale that would really sell it to me, right? Like for me, ideally, I'd pick it up at like $30. But does that mean I'm waiting 2 years to hop into this game? Probably, but
probably that's how it's gonna go for me.
Probably. Greg, let's talk about story number 4. WWE 2K22 has reportedly been completely rebuilt and is looking fantastic. This is from Chris Scullion at Video Games Chronicle. WWE 2K22 is looking fantastic following a complete rebuild of the series' gameplay engine, it has been claimed. Forbes writer Brian Mazik claimed during his latest YouTube discussion stream that he had spoken to people familiar with the game's development, who informed him that things were looking promising. Quote, I have actually spoken with people who have good knowledge of the game and understand what's happening from a developmental standpoint. And what I'm told about the gameplay at this point is that it is fantastic. That is actually the word that was used for the latest build. The people who are playing the latest build have said the gameplay is fantastic. Anybody who is talking about gameplay at this point is probably somewhat close to 2K, so you've got to take it with a grain of salt. But I have been told that the game is playing fantastic and that the gameplay engine is completely rebuilt, Mazik continued. He later added, quote, I also heard that the controls are much cleaner than they have been before. Now, what cleaner means, I don't know. But the last thing that I heard about this is that this feels like a wrestling fan's wrestling game, end quote. WWE 2K22 will be the first WWE 2K title since the series skipped an annual release due to the disastrous launch of WWE 2K20. And to catch folks up, if you remember, 2K20 came out and was just a mess of glitches. Just glitches left and right. So many viral YouTube videos, or viral like Twitter videos and stuff, showcasing just the mess that WWE 2K20 was. And so last year, the WWE 2K game was replaced with WWE 2K Battlegrounds, which was more of an arcade style release. And it looks like WWE 2K is making a comeback this year with 2K 2022. That's hard to say all in a sentence. But
I understand. Greg, yeah.
What is your confidence level? Do you believe what's being said? Do you have hope that 2K22 is going to bring things back?
I mean, I always hope. I don't believe, of course. You know what I mean? Like if you were, if this story hadn't happened, you're like, Greg, what is your most anticipated wrestling game right now? I'd be like, let's go AEW. Let's see what you got. AEW teaming up with Ukes, of course, people who had been working on the WWE games, then left the WWE, working on the WWE games for years, right? For years they had been on this game. It was they were the ones who did SmackDown. When I'm talking about SmackDown, just bring it. When I'm talking about popping that in and jumping over from my N64 wrestling games, right? It was like, this is who's been working on it. So they've had plenty of hits and they've had plenty of misses. But if you remember when they ejected on this, right? And actually, I think it was like the week or two before they ejected on WWE, they had an interview go up where they were just like, yep, we're making the same game year after year. We know we can't do anything about it. You know what I mean? Like, we're sorry. This is what they keep wanting us to do, kind of thing. And then they bailed and they went to AEW or partnered with AEW. Kenny Omega's over there. And like, it's, what do I say every time? I'm like, just remake WrestleMania 2000 or No Mercy or, and WCW and W or Revenge, whatever your N64 wrestling game of choice is from that series, right? With AKI, remake that. And I know you can't literally remake it, but you can look at that game and go, all right, cool, let's make this.
What worked?
Easy to understand, difficult to master. Like, you know what I mean? Strong grapple, weak grapple, strong strike, weak grab, move your joystick to do your special move or taunt. Perfect. We're ready to go. That game is still the game people talk about and play and do this. And WWE 2K had just gone down that road, right? Of cool, we're going to be the sim game. And this is obviously also THQ. THQ was making all the wrestling games before 2K picked up the license and picked up basically the entire team, right? And so it's always been, let's make it photorealistic and let's do all this stuff. And as they've gone down there, it's just gotten more and more boring, which sucks to say. But like, something about the cartoony nature of, what was No Mercy and not the action figure look. I mean, working with what they had, it works so well to let your mind have that space to fill in the gaps and go with it. And so when you go to this thing where it's like, oh man, Rey Mysterio's 619, his arm clips through the rope in WWE 2K18. So it's like that breaks your immersion. It does all stuff. The more you try to go to that uncanny valley point, the higher the standards and bars are that easily can make you fall down and not be where you need to be, right? And so for 2K22, like, I don't have hope. I should say I have hope. I don't have expectations. I would expect it. If I was going to put money down right now, I would say, you know what? It might be a solid wrestling game, because whatever it always feels like when you start something fresh with a wrestling game is like, cool. We have a very limited roster. We have very limited modes, but next year we know you want GM and we know you want ladder matches and we know you want careers, and like, we'll get there. This one, our first time around, we're doing it this way. Because you imagine 2K is still trying to get back on track to being an annual release, which has all the problems that we always talk about with Madden, but the same problems that, you know, go to wrestling, where it's cool. You have 9 months. You have a 9-month development cycle, which inevitably means that right now, and I shouldn't say that, which inevitably means in the hypothetical, right, that right now, Madden, or 2K for this point, is working on something for a game 3 years from now. They're not actually, the cool new feature they're working on isn't the one that'll be in 2K23. It's the one that'll be in 2K24, 2K25, which is a shitty way to do it. I'd rather see the AEW way. And again, you know, when the trailer dropped for AEW and it's just a teaser, Gary Whitta is tearing it apart of like, why does this man look like plastic? And why does he have so many abs? And it's like, they're going that, again, action figure-y route, which I don't super love. I would love it to be an HD No Mercy. Just, you know what I mean? Like, that's what it looks like when we're going with that. But I'll take what I can get. Like, I feel the fact that AEW, both as a promotion and now as a video game developer, knows what WWE does wrong. Makes me think that you're going to get a game from them that is something different. It is going in a different direction. And that makes me excited more than, all right, let's see what, you know, what its visual concepts are, right? Coming back to this one, the guys who did the two really bad ones, or the one that was so bad it got canceled. They're like, all right, let's see what happens.
Yeah, I want to, coming off of what you said, right? I want to pull from quotes they made earlier this year about what their vision is for this game, because it, you know, you mentioned No Mercy, you mentioned just look at the classic games that worked and figure out what worked about those games and bring them into the new game. There was a Reddit Q&A that happened from, let's see, I'm trying to find the name, a dude named Gilmore. I don't know his full name, but his name is Gilmore. He was doing a Reddit Q&A for this WWE game, and he said, quote, core gameplay is one of the, what was that?
Good old Gilmore.
Good old Gilmore. Quote, core gameplay is one of the major investments we're making in the next installment. One of 6 pillars we are focused on disproportionately in development. Gilmore wrote in a Reddit Q&A in summer 2000. I don't think that's supposed to say 2000. I think that might be summer 2020. Quote, we're looking at much loved previous games like No Mercy or SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, along with top franchise installments and more modern wrestling and fighting games to build an all new philosophical foundation for the game. And I want to pull that because I remember talking about that on on this show within the last year and a half at some point, and talking about what the next WWE game should be. And I'm with you that, you know, I don't think the super realistic, you know, like Rey Mysterio has to hit a 619 perfectly, shouldn't clip through the ropes. Like,
sure.
I don't think that fits a WWE wrestling game. I think for what wrestling is about the fun, and it is about the chaos. It is about telling a story. It is about these fun, creative moments. It is about the improv of it. And with that being the case for a wrestling video game, I think you should lean more arcadey than sim. Like, I don't think you should treat a wrestling game like a sim sports game, because those two things don't fit. You know, and to the yearly installment thing, right? Like, I think that does bring it back a bit. I wish it was like UFC, where for the UFC games for EA, they don't release those games yearly. Those games come out once every, I want to say 2 to 3 years, and they just drop them fairly randomly. Like, it's at the beginning or midway through the year, where they're like, hey, in a few months you're gonna get a UFC game. You know, you can look forward to this roster, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. For wrestling, I think that could work the same way, and I think that would give you more time to figure out, okay, what is going to make this wrestling game special? How do we make this game fun? How do we make it so that people are incentivized to go in and create a character and create a moveset that's going to speak to them, and that is going to not be held back by it trying to be a NBA 2K game, where it does have to live up to certain standards of it being a sim game. How do we put fun at the forefront of this thing?
In wrestling games, more than most, I would say, right, lend themselves so well to being a platform. And you would hope that, yeah, AEW is going to have that kind of idea, where it's like, cool, we're not making an annual game. We are making a game that will sequelize eventually, but will be adding in characters and wrestlers as they go, right? I mean, you think about I remember at IGN for years talking about, when's Madden going to be a platform, right? Where it's just you're adding new teams, roster updates, yada, yada, yada. Wrestling, of course, doesn't stop, right? There's no off season for wrestling, which is a big problem for people's actual, health and stuff like that. But for right now, for the business of it, it just making this annual drop of it gets you a big push. But if you did a big expansion that was, for an AEW, whatever new gimmick matches they've done, a new gimmick match and a bunch of new wrestlers, you could go off and do it that way, right? You could drop people that way and have it go. Plus, it would kind of protect you, especially if you're going the more no mercy route, where it's a simpler character, right? Where it's not a problem. It would protect you for wrestlers leaving, which is always the problem with WWE, right? Don't even get me started on their roster lately and what the fuck are they doing? It's more the fact of how many times, as the guy who at IGN did the time for the, countdown to SmackDown, and we're doing all the different things. And like, you'd get to people in the roster and be like, well, they were released 3 months ago, but characters too far in development. They have to keep coming to the game. Like, if you were getting to pick and choose a bit easier, if you were playing it a bit better and like having it more this, like you're adding new characters to the world, new action figures to your world, that could be cool.
God, I would love that, right? Like a WWE game that was a platform and it had a battle pass and it had, as you go, unlockable costumes, and costumes could harken back to classic characters. You can get like a classic like Stone Cold costume and apply it to your created character, or apply it to your, I guess, modern who's even still in the WWE nowadays. I was gonna say like Edge, but I was like, no, that's not right. Then I was gonna say CM Punk, and I was like, no, that's not right. But yeah, you like being able to unlock stuff that way and have a battle pass system, or have some sort of system where you feel incentivized to continue playing on and building over time, and that way you don't run into the thing of having to rebuild the game from scratch every year. That could be ideal. But Greg, for now, I was gonna transition into the actual, like, if I want to know, blah, 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 but I forgot we have one more news story, which is story number 5. We're getting a new Pokemon Presents stream next week. This is Michael McWhertor at Polygon. The Pokemon Company will stream a new Pokemon Presents showcase on Wednesday, August 18th, promising updates on a number of projects, including Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, Pokemon Shining Pearl, and Pokemon Legends Arceus. Pokemon fans can watch the live stream on the official Pokemon YouTube channel, starting at 6 a.m. Pacific time on August 18th. The Pokemon Company did not specify how long the stream would be, or if other in-development projects like Pokemon Unite, Pokemon Sleep, or the new Detective Pikachu game would appear during the presentation. Both Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Pokemon Shining Pearl are coming to Nintendo Switch on November 19th. The remakes of Pokemon Diamond and Pokemon Pearl, which were originally released on Nintendo DS in 2006, will feature modern visuals, a faithfully reproduced original story, and updated game mechanics. I'm looking forward to that. I assume that is very much going to be sticking to the script in terms of it being about Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, and then also Pokemon Legends Arceus, because between those two projects, you have a lot to talk about. Maybe we'll get an update on Pokemon Sleep, which is still not out yet. I was thinking about that recently. I don't think it is. Like, at Pokemon Sleep, I've not heard anybody talk about it, and I don't think that came out. And that was announced 2 years ago. It was announced when I still lived in Seattle. Where is Pokemon Sleep? I demand it. And I imagine too we might get Pokemon Unite like updates since that just came out, but I wouldn't expect anything too crazy. I wouldn't expect anything Pokemon Snap level, but nevertheless, still excited to get more details on Diamond and Pearl and on Pokemon Legends Arceus, which I'm really looking forward to. Are you at all excited for this?
No, but I'm happy other people are. It's just I'm not a Pokemon guy, right? Like, I've tried so many times. I even played and beat the last one. That was the Switch one when we were coming back in 2019. Yeah, right. And it's like totally fine, but it always gets that point of like, I get it. Like, I'm not in it for the story, right? So I'm in it to collect Pokemon, but I didn't grow up with Pokemon. I have no attachment to them or whatever. I enjoy Pokemon Go every so often,
Well, Greg, if you're not interested in this Pokemon stream, you might be interested in this question from Kevin Eddy, who writes into patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, just like you can, and says, I've been on holiday and I've been playing catch up with the Kind of Funny content, as it's not always appropriate for the kids. Anyway, while listening to the episode when Master Chief was becoming Sat-Nav, I was driving to work. Chief instructed me to turn left. I did, cutting off the other lane of traffic. I crashed through a fence into a field. I turned around. Wow, I should have read this beforehand. I turned around and saw a 10-car carnage in my wake. Wheels rolling down the road, cars on roofs. Miraculously, not one person had a scratch. The emergency services came, and I held up my hands saying I caused it. The police asked why. I said Master Chief told me to turn left, so I did. The officer said, being a gamer himself, it was understandable. You should always trust and follow Master Chief. He said there would be no further investigation, but if he wanted to know what games were coming out to mom and grab shops today, where would he look?
He'd go to the official list of upcoming software across each and every platform as listed by the Kinda Funny Games Daily show hosts each and every weekday.
Yeah.
Hey, Greg, you don't do it. It's not for you.
I like to do that when I'm not doing it.
No, it's not for you.
Oh, sorry, Kevin. I take it back. I'll do it in a rewind.
Out today, we got Whiskey Mafia, Frank's Story for Xbox One and Switch. Hades is out for PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X/S, and Xbox One. Cataclysm, Shards of the Four is out today for Xbox One and Switch. Paw Patrol, the movie, Adventure City Calls, PS4,
let's
Xbox
check out them
One,
trophies,
Switch,
Paw
and PC.
Patrol. Let's see what the trophies look like.
Fort Triumph is out for PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. Witch Spring Refine, the story of Eurydice, is out for Switch. Scrap Garden is out for Switch. Sudoku Classic is out for Switch. Dot Cat Milk is out for Switch. Barry the Bunny is out for Switch. And then Living Together with Fox Demon is out for PC. New dates for you. Bug Snacks is coming to Steam in 2022.
Woo!
Crisis Remastered, Bug Snacks. Crisis Remastered is coming to retail on Nintendo Switch on the 28th of September 2021. The Europeans strike again with their date formats.
Bastards.
And then Glyph launches on Steam this Monday. We have a deal of the day for you. This is from Wario64. Supergiant Games is having a sale on GOG. You can get Bastion for $2.99, Transistor
Bastion
for
for
$3.99.
$3. Go buy Bastion. What a game.
Go buy that. You're getting Transistor for $3.99 and then Pyre for $5.99. All games that I know a lot of people love, especially those Supergiant fans. And so don't miss out on that. Remember, you can write in to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames where you can get your questions read on the show. You can skip the ads, but you can also write in with your squad ups, just like Dan Golden Spider did. Dan writes in with a squad up on PS5 or PS4 and says, "Hi, KFBS. I'm looking for a chill squad to come hang with me on some Avengers. I need to level up most of my guys in prep for Wakanda next week. I have a mic, but I like to play some Avengers while chilling to a podcast, so no mic is fine too. I'm typically available Central Standard Time, Sunday through Thursday after 4 p.m. and anytime on Fridays and Saturdays. Avengers, assemble." If you want to play with Dan, aka the Golden Spider, you can add them on PlayStation, PS5, or PS4 with the username Golden Spider 666. That is Golden Spider 666 if you want to play with Dan, aka the Golden Spider. Avengers, assemble. Now it's time for kindoffunny.com/you're wrong, where you write in and let us know what we got wrong as you got it wrong, so we can correct it for those watching later on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames and on podcast services around the globe. Editorializing. We already know that. You know what? This could work. Timmy Buddy writes in and says, CM Punk has not been in WWE since 2014, and is most likely debuting for AEW next Friday night. And then Nanobiologist writes in and says, Pokemon Sleep was slated to release in 2020. Fun fact, there's been no news since its announcement on May 28th, 2019. They probably watched the Kind of Funny reaction stream and saw the response to Pokemon Sleep and decided we can't.
You know what?
Can't
do this. Don't want to do this.
Can't do this. Tim Geddes is not feeling it. Today's Friday, which means that next week is a whole new week filled with a slate of hosts for Kind of Funny Games Daily. Next week's hosts go like this. On Monday, you're getting me and Tim. On Tuesday, you're getting Janet Garcia and Gary Whitta. That should be a banger episode. On Wednesday, you're getting me and Andy. Thursday, you're getting Tim and Tam ? On Friday, you're getting Greg.
Wait. Thursday, Tim and is it a Tim Tam Thursday? Tam, you were in the chat earlier. Do you want to host Games Daily on Thursday? Let me know. Let me know. This is how business gets done. At the same point, too, I'm slacking Janet Garcia. I don't remember if I asked her. Hey, can you host
Oh my God.
Tuesday?
So
Did we have this?
unprofessional.
Did we have this conversation?
Oh, God. On Friday, you're getting Greg and the one and only Ryan Panagos.
Yeah, Agent M from Marvel. And yes, Tam is
Oh!
in. Tam is in. Tam is confirmed, everybody.
Tam is in. You're going to get Tim TM Thursday next week. Get hype. If you're watching this live on Twitch right now, speaking of getting hype for Tam, after this is Mike and Barrett continuing their playthrough of Metal Gear Solid 2, which Tam usually pops into. So get hype for that. If you want to catch that stream later, you can subscribe to youtube.com/kindafunnyplays. Remember, this has been Kinda Funny Games Daily, each and every weekday live right here on twitch.tv/kindafunnygames. We run you through the nerdy news you need to know about. We have a Patreon post show for those that are subbed at the silver level of patreon.com/kindafunnygames. So stick around for that. Otherwise, until next time, Avengers, assemble.